We often imagine the death of democracy as a dramatic event. Tanks in the streets, coups d'etats, constitutions burned in public squares. But that's not how it happens anymore. Today, democracy is not overthrown. It's eroded, eaten from the inside by cynicism, surveillance, manipulation, and fear. The ballots are still cast. The parliaments still sit. The headlines still use the word election. But what if, by 2030, democracy still exists in name, yet means almost nothing at all? In this episode of the Watchtower Report, we forecast the authoritarian wave sweeping across the planet. What does the world look like in 2030 if this trend holds? And can anything stop it? The erosion of democratic legitimacy. Liberal democracy once stood as the default aspiration of nations, the gold standard, the sign of modernity, stability, and global respect. But its legitimacy is fading, fast. Voter turnout is collapsing in country after country. Younger generations increasingly say they don't believe democracy is the best system. Trust in institutions, from courts to legislatures to news outlets, is plumbing historic lows. Why? Because these systems no longer deliver. Economic inequality has surged. Political parties have calcified. Governments often appear paralyzed, capable of managing decline, but not solving problems. And into that void steps a new breed of leader. They don't destroy democracy, they weaponize it. Authoritarianism by another name. These are not the dictators of old. No military uniforms, no iron curtains. Today's authoritarians wear suits. They run for office. They win elections. Then they rewrite the rules. Hungary, India, Turkey, Brazil, even the United States. One by one, we see the same playbook. Declare a crisis, expand executive power, attack the press, politicize the courts, divide the public into us and them. It's a strategy of manufactured emergency, one that never ends. The leader becomes the nation, opposition becomes treason. By the time voters realize what's happening, the system still technically exists, but it's rigged, hollowed out, and unaccountable. This is not fascism. It's something more subtle, more digital, more permanent. 2030, the Authoritarian World Map. So what does the world look like in 2030 if these trends continue? It's not a single dictatorship. It's a global mosaic of controlled democracies. In the United States, partisan gerrymandering and voter suppression entrench one-party dominance in key states. In Europe, economic pressure and social unrest bring populists to power who govern by decree and scapegoat minorities. In Latin America and Africa, militarized police forces replace civic governance. Corruption is masked as patriotism. Foreign media is banned. AI-powered surveillance becomes the new norm. In China, the state expands its influence abroad through digital authoritarianism, offering governance as a service to fragile states in exchange for loyalty. Even free countries begin to imitate these methods, not because they want to, but because it works. The psychology of submission. Why do people let it happen? Because chaos is exhausting. In the aftermath of financial crises, pandemics, terror attacks, and endless political scandals, people don't just lose trust in institutions, they lose trust in themselves. The burden of decision-making becomes unbearable. They stop asking what is right and start asking what is safe. Authoritarian systems provide simple answers to complex problems. They offer protection, pride, and predictability. The state becomes not just a political entity, but a parent, a symbol of unity, a source of identity. And most importantly, authoritarians understand the emotional economy. They don't govern through facts. They govern through feelings, fear, loyalty, anger, nostalgia. In this environment, traditional liberal values like free speech or separation of powers feel distant, abstract. What matters now is who can deliver order, who can project strength, who can make people feel seen, even if what they're seeing is an illusion. This is why even those who once championed democracy begin to rationalize its erosion, because the alternative, uncertainty, pluralism, compromise, feels like weakness. And in a world of rising instability, weakness is intolerable. Is the slide inevitable? The authoritarian wave feels unstoppable, but history shows that waves can be resisted if there's enough will and enough clarity. The first step is understanding that belief is the real battlefield. Not laws, not armies, not GDP, belief. If people no longer believe in democracy, it doesn't matter how strong the institutions are. They will fall. But if people start believing again, even the most broken system can be rebuilt. That belief won't come from slogans. It will come from outcomes. From leaders who solve problems without scapegoats. From communities that rebuild trust from the ground up. From new platforms that resist manipulation and reward transparency. We will need more than reform. We will need reinvention. Technology will be key, not centralized, state-controlled surveillance tech, but decentralized, encrypted networks that empower civic resistance and real journalism. We will need new civic contracts, systems that reward participation and critical thinking instead of outrage and tribalism. And perhaps most importantly, we will need to embrace the discomfort of pluralism again. The idea that disagreement is not weakness, but strength. Authoritarianism thrives on division. Democracy survives through cooperation. But the window is closing. 2030 is not the end, but it may be the point of no return. Democracy doesn't die in darkness. It dies in daylight while we scroll, while we laugh, while we vote, while we pretend everything is still fine. 2030 is coming. The question isn't just whether democracy survives. The question is whether anyone will still believe in it when it does. This is the Watchtower Report, where strategy meets reality.